We know that there was an attempted attack on the house of the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central, who doubles as the majority leader in Parliament, Mahama Yariga. We know also that the police commander in the area's residence had been attacked. The IGP has been in the area since last week. We know that he's met with some opinion leaders, some chiefs, and has made some pronouncements. Okay, so we're going to go into a conversation surrounding the Bawku issue and, of course, how we can deal with it going forward. I have in studio with me the editor of the News Center newspaper and newscenter.com, Elvis Dako. Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
I still call you boss. But the people don't know why. So we'll deal with them later.
Right
Yeah, we'll deal with them later. Then Ibrahim Adjei is also here. He's a former Assistant Secretary, Office of the former President. Good morning, Ibrahim.
That's a very good morning to you and our viewers and listeners.
I hope you're well.
Very well, thank you.
How was the weekend?
Quiet, I think, yeah, by all accounts.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was good. I see a smile on your face. How was the weekend?
Oh, so it was a normal weekend.
Very well. All right, let's get into the issues this morning. We'll start off from Bawku. And I mean, the conflict doesn't seem to want to end. The feuding factions have not come to a compromise yet. Mr. Mahama, the president, has told us about the Otumfuo-led mediation, which he says will start this week. He mentioned last week that it will start this week. So we're looking forward to that. But the IGP was in Bawku over the last week. And he made a statement that has generated some level of controversy. We've heard the minority go at him. Okay, so I want to read a very quick story, a few paragraphs of a story that we publish here on ChannelOne News. ChannelOne, or I'll take you to citynewsroom.com real quick and bring you a few paragraphs. It says, minority slams IGP over recruitment promise to Bawku residents. Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre has criticized the Inspector General of Police IGP Christian Tete Yohunu over what he describes as a reckless and unfortunate statement concerning the ongoing Bawku conflict. Addressing a press conference held by the minority on the Bawku crisis, Anodompre expressed deep concern over the IGP's comments, suggesting that individuals who lay down their arms could be considered for recruitment into the police service. The comment of the IGP, this is purported to be his major public statement ever since he was appointed. And maybe he made the statement just on the spur of the moment, but it is clearly an unfortunate statement. Quote, this is Anodompre speaking there in reaction to that IGP statement. I haven't seen an official communication on this statement and the backlash that has followed from the police yet. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen any such communication yet. But first of all, I don't know if you've listened or watched that video of the IGP. And do you think that the reactions that are coming after as much ado about nothing because it could just be an inference that people are making, or it was a direct statement that lay down your tools and I'll give you jobs? Elvis,
well, I was not there, so I can only speak to the reports that have come. And from all platforms that I've monitored, it's the same report that he's promised them that they should lay down their tools and I will give them jobs, recruit them to security services. And as the service has also not issued any statement to counter the reports, I believe that the reporters that were there were many, and all of them will not be reporting the same thing if the IGP had not said so. And therefore, I believe strongly that whatever has been reported across all channels, media platforms, is what actually the IGP has said. And I think that the IGP, in my opinion, could have handled issues better. It's either...
just before you go on, I'm picking a story from our website. There's a clarification from the IGP that says recruits will go through standard procedure. IGP clarifies. Story reads, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohunu, has clarified his recent remarks suggesting that youth in Bawku will be given priority in police recruitment if they lay down their arms. His clarification follows public backlash and media scrutiny after a video of his interaction with residents in Bawku began circulating online. Now, addressing the media, the IGP explained that his comments were aimed at decentralizing the recruitment process to ensure inclusivity, particularly for individuals in remote and conflict-affected areas. According to Mr. Yohunu, he assured the youth of Bawku that they will be given the opportunity to apply to the Ghana Police Service, but stressed that all applicants will still be required to go through the standard recruitment procedures.
This one is just, I don't, he has not studied anything different. What the clarification is the same thing that has been reported. Police service is open to everybody to apply anytime, any day. Nobody has been prevented from applying, or nobody has been favored, or nobody. So the clarification itself has actually not given us anything. In fact, if I look at it from Kwaduko's point of view, he's only reinforcing and actually worsening the problem that he has said. If they had even kept quiet and not clarified, it would have been better. Because this clarification has given actually, to me, does not even, it even creates more problems for the issue.
Right.
Okay. Nobody has said that you said they will enter the police without any scrutiny. The statement that they should lay down their arms and you give them jobs, the inference or the interpretation they will put on it that the people are fighting because of lack of job opportunities. Unfortunately, that is not why the people are fighting. So if they are not fighting because of lack of job opportunity, how does a promise of job opportunity solve the problem? So I sat down and said, is it that the IGP didn't receive the right briefing about the history of the Bawku conflict and what actually is at stake? It's either he hasn't
but
received
this is a man who has been in the service for how many years?
Yes, I know. Yeah,
you should know about the Bawku conflict.
You can know about the Bawku conflict, there's a conflict. But to know what really is the bottom or the key issue can also be another issue. And so, as I always say, communication is so important in everything. You go into Bawku as an IGP, the question, what briefing was he giving? What briefing was the IGP giving that this is the situation on the ground? These are the warring factions. These are the issues. These are the thorny issues in it. If I believe he had been given that kind of briefing, that statement of giving a job will not even come in. Because there's no way. With the little that I've read and following the Bawku issue, it has nothing to do with job opportunities.
There's no link between unemployment and
there's nothing like that. The Bawku issue is purely an issue of traditional authorities who are fighting to determine who is the rightful traditional ruler, who actually owns the place, who is the rightful authority in that area. And this is between the Mamprosis and the Kusasis. And this dates back to centuries. And if you read, there is always one way or the other. Even historians who have written about it, I've read several writings about from various historians, and nobody is able to actually pinpoint that they are certain that this is the right or wrong of the place. So if you follow the writings of historians who actually have looked at how these people got to the place, because both the Mamprosis and the Kusasis actually migrated from different countries to Ghana and settled in the same area. And when you read some accounts, it tells you that at a point, the Kusasis came under attack from forces around. And then they sought the support of the Mamprosis to be able to defeat their enemies. And so there's a lot that you need to read about. So when it comes to the issue of people trying to tell you that I am the rightful authority here, people are emotionally attached to their tradition, their traditional areas, where they believe belongs to them. So when people are fighting because they strongly believe that we are the rightful authority here, somebody is trying to usurp our authority and will not accept that. It's not an easy thing to deal with, especially when various accounts of what really happened and who should be the authority there has been a controversial issue. And this issue has come a long way. I remember under the previous government when the Mamprosis installed a chief and that the heat started. the then government denounced that they don't recognize any other chief but the Bawku Naba as the only overlord of the area. At that time, people were pushing that then the person installed should be arrested and all that. Security intelligence also showed that if the news person also is arrested, it could escalate the situation at the place. So the call for arrest of the newly installed chief was also not followed up by security, but they believe that any attempt to arrest him could also lead to all kinds of what we are seeing today. And therefore, I think that for the IGP to go there, if he had had the little briefing or the little information I am talking about or sharing on this platform, I'm very sure that he wouldn't have talked about the issue of job opportunity. Because white people are fighting that I'm the right authority here. It has nothing to do with job opportunities. It has nothing to do with job. They are just trying to protect their territory. It is like Ghana sitting here, and then a neighboring country wakes up and said, we think that we came here before Ghana, and we think that the land that Ghana is occupying, we are the first to come to this particular location in West Africa, and we think that we own that place, and therefore we are setting up our army to come and fight Ghana. It's something that people should look at critically. And even if you take chieftaincy away, look at the Russia-Ukraine war. It used to be USSR that broke up to into various parts. Attempts by Russia now to say they want to reunification, to bring back all those countries that broke away when the USSR broke down. This is what is happening in Ukraine now. And look at the number of people who are dead in that war. Yet, Russia is not willing to back down. Ukraine is not willing to back down. Everybody is trying to protect their sovereignty. It's what is happening in Bawku. It's about who own the sovereign authority within that jurisdiction. And so it's a fight between two groups who are trying to exert authority and says, we own the sovereign authority of Bawku.
Right.
And that is the issue at stake. So I don't think that a promise of I'll give the youth job is what is at stake here. And so I believe that if the IGP got it wrong, he got it wrong. And this is why I've always advised communication. Let it start from a certain point. If there is the PRO in the region, or even the national police PRO is the one who made this go, the IGP would have come to say, what the person has said, it shouldn't have been the case. And that is not the purpose of being there. They are there to resolve an issue. But now it has come from the final authority of the institution. So now addressing it becomes a problem. You can't say anything. One day come back to say, it's difficult for people to come and admit that what they have said is wrong. So it's always an attempt to justify. That is what happens in communication. Because you say, how will people see me if I say what I've said is wrong? I shouldn't have said it. So most of the time, people are likely to justify or try to clarify.
Instead of admitting.
But if it's a subordinate who has said it, and the superior comes and says, oh no, the subordinate got it wrong. That is simple. And then it kills all the issue. But when the overall boss says it, you cannot come back and say that I got it wrong. It's difficult for most people to say I got it wrong. So you always try to rationalize what you have said. And then once you attempt to rationalize, you create more room for more criticism.
Sure. Thank you. We'll go another round so we can look at possible solutions and how to deal with it. I'm going to pick your thoughts on it, Ibrahim, but let me say good morning to Chairman Adjei and welcome to our studios. A former Greater Accra Regional Chairman. Emeritus. The Chairman Emeritus of the NDC. Welcome, sir. Good to have you. Good to have you. All right. Ibrahim, let me come with you. Let's deal with the IGP's end of the Bawku issue, and then we can look at the conflict itself and how we can profess some solutions.
No, that's before. Thank you very much. Good morning again. And let me quickly say to my senior brother Adjei, Adjei. We met. It's been a while since we met. Back to the issue. I was alarmed, and I want to say this as dispassionately as possible, that the IGP himself, the Inspector General of Police, made this pronouncement. Officers mentioned that he's a seasoned security personnel in this country, and we give him credit. But to make such a pronouncement, it just seems to unravel all the peace efforts that we're doing, because what you're doing is you are somehow incentivizing the youth by showing them that violence creates opportunities. And his clarification also doesn't hold water. recruitment into the police is already decentralized. You don't come to Accra to go into the police. Where do you go firstly? You go online. Then there's the, what do you call it, the health checks, they call it.
Yeah.
Is it body check, medical checks? These are all done regionally.
Yeah.
So that clarification has rather made things worse, because people can look to the reality and say, how do you say that your aim was to decentralize recruitment process and make it a regional balance? That is already on the ground, with all due respect to the IGP. Now, what you do by his pronouncement, you actually undermine the recruitment process. He said he's going to send a team specifically to Bawku. Now, the caliber of recruits, I mean, there's a process. One, you have to be literate, you have to be numerate, and if you don't qualify here, can you imagine that you make a promise, I lay down my arms, and then I get to the space where I'm expecting to be recruited, then you reject me because you say either I'm too short, because there's a height requirement, or I'm illiterate. That was not what you said to me. You said, lay down my arms and I'll get a job. And then there's the issue of infiltration. Even presently, and I don't say this is any disservice to our Ghana police men and women, globally, you have bad nuts within every institution, whether it's police, whether it's a political architecture, you name it. Can you imagine having, people who don't have the community at heart, now finding a sure pathway to gaining access to the police? Now, when you gain access to the police, now you have access to the police armory. Yes. Now you have a legitimate access to guns and ammunition.
What you will be assigned.
Yes, but I'm just saying that. Armory. Yeah, but I'm just saying that opportunity to enter the ecosystem of the police as somebody who's not having the community at heart. Now you're giving a sure pathway. What he should do is retract. It's better, because that way, not for our sake, but for the community in Bawku, our young men and women there. If you don't retract, we can do all the political talking here. But if they don't hear it from you and say, what I meant to say, and the clarification does not help. Okay? Because what will happen now? Now we're seeing incidences of Galamsey members using armed conflict. Am I right? So you go to a Galamsey area. Will you then offer the same thing? And I mean, I can go on and on without being ad nauseum. But I think I've made the point. We, the politicians talking about it, will not convince the young men and women of Bawku that what was said, he misspoke. And he needs to re-clarify the clarification. And sometimes be bold and say, I spoke in a way to somehow bring unity, recognizing that there are employment difficulties. Poverty can be an ingredient of the Bawku conflict. But Elvis mentioned, this thing goes back centuries. It's not about employment. Whereby the Mamprusis will say that they secured the area for trade routes centuries ago. The Kusasis will say differently. Okay? Then you have in the British colonial era, where the British colonial power then recognized the Mamprusi paramountcy. I mean, as if you want a nexus point, a ground zero, as to where these things came from. You understand me? And so these are the ingredients or the factors that you need to resolve. It's not about giving jobs. It's about trying to, and we've been doing, God knows we've been doing as a country, trying to resolve, and inshallah, I'm praying that the Asantehini's involvement, as he did with Dagban, the Dagbon crisis will yield some positive outcome. So I don't want to repeat myself.
Very well.
The IGP needs to, but he needs to come back
For
again.
you, he should retract.
He should retract and be bold about it. Nobody, sometimes when you retract, you rather are given the credit from the whole populace that you've recognized the right thing and you've done it. Don't see it as a U-turn that will be a bad mark on your your leadership.
Very well, Ibrahim. Thank you.